Substance Designer. Yeah, Substance Designer. So,
So I've got a question. I've got a
yeah, yeah, yeah.
question. Because I tried downloading it. No, I mean I did in fact download it for like a good hour,
Uh huh.
but then I couldn't open it because I was trying to get like some sort of student license. So
Uh
what do
huh.
you do about that?
You get the student license on their website, and
Right.
and then you log in with whatever your like account is that's associated with that student license once they like approve it on their website.
I
Um,
could have sworn I did that, but maybe I didn't. Maybe I didn't.
it's
I can
something
try
like that.
again.
You don't.
But yeah, cool,
y-
great. I will. I mean, I'll still be here to watch the toil.
Yeah, it's that is weird. Yeah, a logarithmic's not.
Hell am I looking at?
Hey,
Blender.
okay, all right,
This isn't Blender at all.
you guys.
This must be some knockoff product of Blender. It must be.
This is substance. This is substance. I thought you guys were not gonna come. That's great.
Oh no, I'm here.
Okay, cool. Well,
Yeah, no, don't worry. I'll figure it out.
no, it's yeah. You should just be able to log in. Julian achieved this, I think, or had the same issue, perhaps. Julian, were you ever able to
No,
launch Substance Designer? No.
no, it just kept calling me a bitch.
Uh huh. So, well, whatever the case, you guys, it is free as long as you have that student license. Substance Designer, in addition to Substance Painter, is part of a suite of software tools that was originally developed by an excellent company named Allegorithmic. Allegorithmic was bought out by Adobe, and
Swallowed.
now they cost like instead of they're a nasty monthly subscription. It used to be like $150 and you get 2 years of updates, and then you get to keep whatever you've got at the end of the 2 years of updates. But yeah, it's a bit annoying, but that's all right. That's all right. Yeah, yeah, certifiable Adobe moment. I'm sure this video will get shot out of YouTube immediately, but they're gonna assemble their legal team and send us a cease and desist. But anyways, no, Adobe, yeah. So this is Substance Designer. This isn't. I don't think this is like almost the latest version. I don't know. Doesn't matter. This is a copy of Substance Designer that I have procured. So Substance Designer. What does it do? What does Substance Designer do? I'd rather show you than tell you, and then I'll tell you. So I'm just gonna go to ArtStation. If you guys don't know what ArtStation is, it was formerly an independent thing. Now it's owned by Epic Games, and they just made it like 30 times better and cheaper. God bless Epic Games. Let's look up Substance Designer, and now you'll see. Yeah, this is stuff that people have made using Substance Designer. It lets you make textures. It lets you make texture sets. So remember how we covered shaders last time? Shaders are taking textures. Like you might remember in Unreal Engine, we would open up like a texture sample node, and that texture sample would be like used in the shader. It would like reference a texture and then be like, okay, that texture is our color, and maybe in different textures are ambient occlusion, and in different textures are normal map. So yeah, these are textures. These are the textures that you would generate in Substance Designer, and then you can pump them over to Unreal Engine, which is fantastic. Why is this especially useful? Because Substance Designer, generating these textures is a very GPU intensive process. It actually takes like several seconds to generate a full set of high quality textures from like a bunch of instructions. It's not like a shader where it executes per pixel like 60 times a second just fine. It's not like that. Textures take time to produce, but Substance Designer has a plugin for Unreal Engine that lets you add textures to the engine and then manipulate parameters in like editor time, and then generate like fresh textures procedurally at runtime. So what do I mean? Like this texture set here with these like starfish and stuff, you might have a parameter exposed that's like, I don't know, starfish height or starfish quantity, and you'd be able to generate variations of all of these textures in the editor in Unreal Engine from the substance file, and they would just be ready to go. I see some chat about capybaras. Oh yeah. Marissa, I was thinking we could use your capybara as a giant statue at the entrance to the exhibit, because it's kind of low poly and it's got that aesthetic. Instead of doing like hair, it could be like a big statue. I think it would, in its current state, it's great as a statue. Just a thought. But yeah, substance designer.
A statue with hair.
A hairy statue. Now that is terrifying.
Yes.
Here's like a really impressive set of rock textures, you guys. Like, look at this. Really great. All generated in Substance Designer. So that's what we're going to work with today. We're going to see how we make textures like these that create all of this extra detail on the surface of an object without really introducing too much actual like geometric complexity. Like, yeah, there's geometry here, but we don't have to hand model this geometry. It gets pushed up and down based on the height map that we apply. Cool. All right, so here's Substance. When you open up Substance for the first time, you got to go up here and do New Package and then Substance Graph, and that's how you start creating like a substance. So here we are. We have a few different areas to the view. This thing down here is like a content browser. You don't really touch it almost like ever. What really matters is over here you got like a little 3D preview of a cube that's going to have all of our textures applied, and a 2D preview of whatever you have clicked. So if I like double click this, it becomes the normal map. Double click this, I'm looking at this node. And this node is a uniform color node. It is one of the many nodes. Something nice about Substance is that all of their nodes are perfect squares, and they all connect at like the same spots. So like you never have that Unreal Engine spaghetti. Everything just like snaps around and is really like uniformly positioned, you know? It just, it looks nice. It looks really nice. I prefer it to Unreal's spaghetti. It's very nice. So let's delete these inputs here and start working with something. I don't know. Let's start with a shape. Let's start with the shape. I'm gonna add a node. Actually, you can just hit spacebar and it gives you a search. I can just do shape. Oh, we've got all these different nodes that are related to shape. Let me just do shape. And here's a shape node right here. And here's what it's outputting, this like white shape. We can play with this. We can say, I don't want a shape. I want a paraboloid. And there's a paraboloid. Okay, great. Let's actually, you know what? Let's work backwards a little bit. What is it that we're trying to make? Let's see. Hold on. Bam. Here's Super Florida Man, the ongoing project that we're working on. There's a few things that I wanted to make from this. One of them might be this texture right here. I really was a fan of this texture from this video. This is a video of the Los Angeles Zoo. And this concrete texture as well is really nice. So having some of these in our game would be really, really nice. So let's do this. We're going to do this. Cool. Let's go back. So that pattern is like really kind of, you know, rocky, and it's got all these like random divisions in it. And they're like, they have like smooth edges, honestly. They don't look all this jaggedy. They're just, you know, smooth edges kind of on the pattern. So to generate that, I know of something called Voronoi. You've probably heard of Voronoi before. Actually, hold on, noise. And then, let's see, cells. Cells is an example of Voronoi noise. Voronoi noise is a type of noise, like a computer-generated, you know, pattern that's random, where it positions a bunch of points and next to each other, and this is kind of like the value of like the distance to the nearest point. So like these black spots are the farthest away from these random points, and the white spots are the closest. It's something like that, the algorithm behind it. So I can select this cell and go down here, or cell, this node, and I can change the scale. So I'm gonna make it really kind of like there, right? Because we want to make like this big concrete square. The nice thing about this is that it is tiling, like it lines up from left to right and top to bottom. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to perform edge detection on this, and edge detect detects edges. As simple as that. It's like, okay, you're going from white to black. We're starting with a height map, by the way. This is supposed to represent our height map. So now we've got this edge detection. This already looks pretty close to this kind of pattern here. Not bad. We're only focusing on height right now and like isolating basic shapes. You can skip across the broken up rock one. Oh god, it works like blueprints. I like huffing concrete. I love concrete so goddamn much. Pretty stone pathways. Yeah, I agree with most of those sentiments. So, okay, so we've got edge detect. So that's great. Let's work with this height map. So I'm gonna do well, what I'm gonna do real quick for demonstration purposes is over here. This is our color. If I plug this into color, you can immediately see it on the cube. I said immediately see it on the cube. If I plug this into height as well. Okay, I can see that the cube is doing the thing because there's this weird stuff going on now. What's breaking this? Let's do a color, uniform color. For normals, this should just be, this is a tangent space normal, so it should just be red, green, blue, right? No, it's definitely not. It's definitely 0.5 on these. 0.5. No, not right, because it's 255. We're talking pixel space. 255 divided by 2 is 127.5, right? Right? I think something like that. 127. Why is this black? Well, we gave it that color. I think it wants roughness, metallic, and occlusion. So this is going to be our final height map. Let me make a splitter dot node. So this is just a node that serves as a splitter of outputs. So what I can do is I can take this height map and I can generate from it ambient occlusion using horizon-based ambient occlusion. And just plug this straight into AO. There it goes. So that's what it was angry about, ambient occlusion. And now this node will generate ambient occlusion from our height map. And from our height map, we can drive base color. And from our height map, we can drive height. And now all I have to do is plug in the output into this node and we'll see it change over time. So this is what we've generated so far. Not terrible, but pretty bad. There is a height effect, like the edges there are being pulled in. This is from like tessellation. In our game, we probably won't be tessellating this at all, and those blacks are way too black. Like they're way too low on the height value. So let's raise them up a little bit. I'm going to do a levels, and what levels lets me do is it lets me play with the different ranges and like push up the black values a little bit, like so. And now they're closer to the surface. Now you can probably see that the surface is really like crunchy, like this like jaggedy kind of pattern going on does not look good. That is because Substance Designer is performing tessellation on the surface. It is not performing parallax occlusion mapping. There's two techniques for elevating a surface based on like a shader. And one of them is tessellation, which means just subdivide the surface and move the vertices up and down. And parallax occlusion mapping is a much more like visual technique where you tell the computer graphics card to do some magic that takes like your camera location and traces like what pixel it's hitting through an MRI scan of the height map, where it like layers all the different height values on top of each other and tries to kind of produce a 3D effect from it. Parallax occlusion mapping looks way better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here to materials and default, and we're looking at the Adobe standard material. Here's tessellation plus displacement. I'm going to change it to parallax occlusion. And now we get perfect, like, you know, it's much more accurate to what we should be seeing. But again, in our game, we won't even have that. We're just going to be working with like the normal map. Speaking of, our normals are pointing straight up. So what it's saying right now is it's saying, hey, even for these sideways edges here, keep pointing straight into the sky. And that's not true. These sideways edges should be facing sideways. A normal map can be generated from a height map. Because if you take the like derivative of the height map and you find the rate of change of height on the x-axis, then you kind of know like that, you know, going from left to right here, it's going like up, and here it's like low. And so somewhere along here it's going sideways. So from that derivative you can get the vector, like the direction that's pointing. So therefore you can generate a normal map from a height map. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to do normal, and there it goes. Generates the normals from the height map, plug that in, and now that's perfectly accurate. Cool. Great. We're not going to touch roughness and metallic yet. So we've got this pattern going on, and let's color it based on this pattern, and let's also add some distortion. So let's look back at our reference image real quick. Super Florida man. Less detail for a statue, more detail for actual animal. Yes, true. Let's see. Right. Yes. So, oh, I already had it open on my other monitor. Cool. So we're looking at some of these are darker. I'm noticing that. The cracks are like this kind of bright white. That's pretty cool. And they look pretty noisy. Like this guy over here is really grainy compared to these. Some are darker, some are brighter, but they seem uniform in their color across the whole spectrum of different tiles there that show up. So what I'm gonna do is there's something called it's called like, yeah, flood fill. God, this was added. This is one of the first. Okay, Allegorithmic, when they got bought by Adobe, totally also just got their funding up the wazoo. And since then, they've actually been making pretty good changes to the product, I will admit. One of them was the addition of this flood fill node. It was one of the like first noticeable things that happened to Substance Designer after Adobe bought it. And flood fill lets me generate this, which is you're thinking like, okay, cool. What did that just do? It took this height map as an input and it generated this. This is like an independent set of UVs for pretty much every tile in here, I think, is fair to say. What we really want is, see, we have complex or big shapes, advanced parameter control. I think there's a way to see attributes, input values, right? Advanced parameter output. This is just like taking a paint bucket tool and dropping it everywhere with a certain threshold. So what I can do is I think material selector? No, that not quite. This lets me select like different yeah, no, not quite. Fill hold on. There's different ways to go about doing this. There's like a million ways to approach this. But oh, flood fill to random color is really nice. Or flood fill to index. Amazing. Okay. Flood fill to index, special shape info, shape index, shape output. Not quite. Flood fill to random color would probably work. Flood fill mapper grayscale. Okay. This is the bounding box. This is the pattern input. Okay. Delete the line. No, that doesn't quite work. Pattern distribution map. Okay. Edge detection failed. Right. Oops. This guy? Do it? No? Okay. Sorry guys, hold on. Flood fill. We'll just do something else. We'll do flood fill. Oh, okay. Flood fill to color. Oh, flood fill generates the bounding boxes, and then you do this. Okay, cool. Uniform color. Let's do uniform. Uniform color. Nice. Okay. Okay, cool. So that's interesting. Uniform color I can change, right? So reds. Right. This guy should let me. Let's do flood fill to random color. Flood fill mapper grayscale. Flood fill bounding box takes in that. Pattern input takes in pattern. Can you guys tell I've not done this before? Specifically this one? Sorry. We'll just do flood fill to random color, I guess. There we go. That's great. That's fine. Honestly, this is fine. So this, random color. That's great. Why is that convenient? Because we can select some random colors, or better yet, flood fill to random grayscale. And now we can isolate certain grayscale values. So we can just pick a random range of these. We can do histogram range and specifically isolate only a set of those values. That's not quite it. It's histogram scan. Histogram scan. Position. Right. Contrast. Nice. And just like that, we can isolate certain values here. So I can grab the ones that are less than 0.8 on a 0 to 1 range, and then I can duplicate this node, and I can grab the ones that are less than 0.6 on a similar range, 0.4, and I can also do a blend. Blend is just like lerp. Remember lerp, you guys? Yeah, here we go. Background, foreground, opacity, A, B, alpha. It's also called blend in Blender. There's a blend node in their shader editor. Very much the same kind of thing. What we can do is we can do subtract. So now we get this guy, or wait, should be foreground minus background. No, that's clearly not what we wanted, so I guess, yep. So it's this guy minus this guy equals this. So therefore, this is one set of tiles. This is another set of tiles. That's a subset of all tiles. So now what we can do to start coloring these differently is we can we can change the height of these a little bit. So we can say, hey, take this original guy. Let me pull these to the left here. Take this original guy that we kind of like the height of, where it's, a little bit gray. And we can say, subtract, where we're looking at these tiles specifically. Oh, okay, come on. Yep, where we're looking at these tiles specifically. We can say subtract like a certain value, uniform color. So or add a certain grayscale. We can say, yep, so over here, copy, add, and then we can add this. And what we should be doing is, that's linear dodge. Let's just do add overlay, copy. Ooh. We should be, okay, this guy as alpha, we're adding on to this, we're adding this, there we go. Okay, brilliant, right. Yeah, so like that, we can just sort of, control the luminance of some of these rocks. And then we can also, what we're doing is effectively controlling their height. So if I plug this back in here, you can see that, I mean, we're seeing the height map outputted to color as well. So we're seeing the height map as color, but it's actually manipulating their height a little bit. So if I change this here, I pump it up, they get bigger. if I lower it down, now they're in the ground. That's a really cool look, honestly. That's almost like sci-fi tiles. Look at that. Pretty neat. I'm a fan. That's actually pretty awesome. So we can separate their height like that, but more importantly, even though that's, it's doing that to their height map, which is great, we can also do that to their color. So over here, where we're grabbing color, and by the way, you can see they're seamless because when it wraps from left to right, you can see it's seamless. It's the same texture repeating. It doesn't look seamless on the top, but let me just, to make this a little bit more obvious that it's seamless, I can change this to a cylinder, and you can see it's entirely seamless from left to right, and it will also be seamless from top to bottom if I make it a sphere. It does wrap around from top to bottom, I swear, but that's not a really great example here. That's fine. Okay. We got this guy. That's height map. Let me do a gradient map. So what's a gradient map? A gradient map takes in 0 to 1 values and maps them to a gradient. So where it's going to be black, it'll be this color. Where it's going to be white, it's going to be this color. So input is color, and the output would be that. One of the coolest tools that I've ever seen in my whole freaking life is this one we're about to see here. I'm going to open up that picture on my other monitor from that lady introducing the Los Angeles Zoo. Let's see, muted mics. Mosaic floor, yes, very cool. Where was it? Super Florida Man, right? She's right here. Right here. I can open up this image right here, and I can go to Substance Designer and watch this. This is absolutely insane. I can do pick gradient. No, hold on. I can do, and look over here, and do pick gradient, and I can draw a line. And it just sampled points along that line and created a gradient out of them. So now I can go in here and I can delete some of these points to remove a little bit of the chaos from it. But it just randomly creates some variety in the colors that I sampled as I drew that line. And from here, we can very easily create some noise, some nice effect that looks pretty nice. We go from that gray to that gray. It preserves the little bit of yellow in their color. Like, brilliant, amazing. And I can output this to our color, and there we go. There's our color. Nice. Why is it so dark here? Because of ambient occlusion and because the height values are kind of blown out. Like, it thinks that stuff is really high or really low. What we can do is we can lower those height values to make this more uniform surface, which it really should be. So what I can do is I can go back over here to levels and crank this, make it a little bit lower contrast so that stuff is just, right up against each other. And then these black ones are way too low. I'll raise them up a little bit like that. Just a little bit lower. Just an indent, a slight indent in the ground. Pretty cool. And then the gradient map changed because it's kind of a smaller range. So we're looking at we're probably only interacting with a very small range here. Let's see where it is. There it is. So this is, it's like this range of blacks to whites is what's getting interacted with here. And because there's not much variation, it's not doing too much for us. We can introduce some damage to the surfaces of this thing. So to do that, in fact, I'm going to plug in the gradient map to the final height, so that's just always there. Let's introduce some damage. Let's do slope blur grayscale. And what slope blur does is it takes in an input and does some really funky stretching and squeezing based on some other input along the slopes of the first one. Let's do clouds. Let me plug this in. And you can see, okay, that looks crazy. Let me turn down the intensity. And there's nice and low intensity. Crazy, mosaic-y, noisy pattern. Very, very not bueno. Now, a big reason that this looks so bad is because in real life, this like damage would only occur on the tiles. The like cracks between them are already like worn down. You know, it's like it's way lower. So what we can do to help fix this a little bit is I can take clouds here. I can scale clouds down. I should scale. Okay, different noise texture. Let's do clouds 2, which is bigger, and let's crank up disorder. Why not? Doesn't really do much obvious stuff. So what we can do is we can, you know, we've done this blurring, but then we can blend it with the original image again. So I can say add node, blend, and input this, and input the edge detection so that we can get nice clean edges again. And based on this, and there we go, and then aha. So, and then plug this into height, and it's doing it there a little bit. So now, yeah, so now the edges of some of these tiles look a little bit worn. Not great. Certainly not that great at all. But it's a look. It's a look. What can we do to fix this? We can crank up the intensity a bit, and now these look a little more concrete-y. But it's not amazing. Not amazing. Certainly doesn't preserve this like idea of isolating some of the tiles. So maybe we can approach this in a different order. That's one option. You can also play around with lowering the damaged regions. There we go. Now you really start to see like the areas that got damaged are way lower. It's really noisy when you zoom in, and that's not at all the result that we want. That noise can maybe exist on the normal map level, but not on the height map level. That's way too much, and that can honestly be achieved much better using roughness, because roughness, fundamentally, the roughness input for a material defines really small pockets on the surface. That's what roughness really does. Is it's pretending that something has like tiny pockets on the surface. That's kind of like what that is behind the scenes, what it means. Min. If you set this to like max, it changes the direction that like blurring happens, like whether it comes in from the cracks or like out from them. So the tiles that are recessed into the ground here kind of experience it in a different direction, I think, kind of. Yeah, I mean, you can see it's coming in from the edges there. Not great. Not great. There's something called, let's see, slope blur grayscale, but let's do a different noise. Let's do Perlin noise. Cells 1. Change the scale. Plug that in there. There we go. Now that's a much more interesting effect. Let's go back to the cube here as well. A bit easier to see. So that, you know, that looks a little egregious. But if I turn this to do that and go here, slope blur, and I crank up the, you know, I can crank up the samples, crank down the intensity, set this to just blur. That is actually vaguely what we are maybe interested in. And then this is isolating it again. Not the best, not the best. Let's, you know what we're gonna do is we're gonna apply this damage at an earlier point prior to blending this in, so we can blend that in afterwards. Delete. There we go. Oh, circular inputs, right. You can go here, and you can go here. Uh-huh. That's better. And then you can go there. Right. There's our slope blur again. So now we're dealing with slope blur before we even do the, you know what? Let's do it before we do levels. That's interesting. Plug that into levels. Then levels can get plugged into there. Interesting. So now we might have a little bit more control. And turn up the intensity here. And we get this crazy effect, which is not great. Let's do minimum. And now it's coming in from the edges. That's perfect. So slope blur just kind of, yeah. Yeah. Better. This is better. Let's do warp. Directional warp, I believe, is what we want, I think. And then what we can do to this is we can add another noise. And I can do, let's see. We'll try cells 3. And that's a bit, these cells, you guys can barely see them, I'm sure. I can barely see them. This is really just generating our rock pattern again. That's not quite what we want. What we want is more bigger noise. Let's do clouds 2 might work for our purposes. Yeah, so that's kind of introducing these like really noisy edges. If I turn up the scale like that, yeah, you got like this really weird effect, and then that gets stuff blended onto it again. In fact, should probably be doing this at this step, and then this at this step. Yeah, and then this at this step. So some tiles are left undamaged and colored a little bit differently. We're not seeing enough of that color difference right now, so I'm going to play around with that briefly. Okay. Our gradient's like right here is where we're playing around with that, so I can just make one of these a little bit darker. That did it actually change it? I'm not sure it did. It seems bright. Okay. It's not. I have to hit enter. Okay. Sure. Keep your secrets then. Okay. There. Stop. There. Oh, that the gradient editor is giving me a lot more than I think I'm looking at. Cool. So, I mean, like, the point is we're getting a pattern here. This actually is, like, really... this isn't great, you guys. This is not a primo example, to put it kindly. We can make improvements. We can continue to try to make some improvements. If I perform this gradient noise prior to edge detection will be a lot more... well, a lot different with how it handles things. And if I turn down this, I mean, this is a nice pattern, honestly. This is the exact kind of pattern that we might be interested in. I can turn down the intensity a little bit. Tell the edge detection to chill a little. Have different rocks to work with. Really small rocks, really big rocks. You can introduce cracks into the surface doing this. But you kind of understand how Substance Designer works from this, hopefully. As just a brief introduction. These nodes here, slope blur and cells and edge detect, they're all like really useful. This flood fill node looks in here and does the like paint bucket tool, and then you can randomly fill it different ways and isolate different chunks of it. I'm kind of face planting right now, trying to make this look half decent, but usually that means you just got to stare at the reference image a little bit more. I'm seeing noise on their like color, and they're not really recessed into the ground at all, like not in the slightest. And we don't need to copy that exactly, but let me just go back to basics here. We got this, we got forget directional warp, forget levels, forget that. Flood fill, isolate, great. Histogram scan, there's 80% of them. There's the remaining 40%. Frankly, and then here's 100% of them. So we should just be able to subtract. Do another blend. Subtract that from that. Subtract. Nope. Wrong direction. This guy from this guy. Right. So in total, this is our, there we go. This is all of our tiles isolated in 3 different ways. We can use these to blend between colors. So we do blend based on the alpha of this input, blend between uniform color blend between the gradient map and some specific color. Probably. No. Let's do uniform color. Hold on. Uniform color. Blend between there. That. What does this do? Cool. And then we can use this like so. Grab this guy's output. Grab this guy. Use it to blend between that and green. Nice. And then finally we can take this guy's output as this input, take this as our alpha, and blend between, there we go. So we got kind of our RGB here. There we are. Can use this as our color. Great, cool. No gradient mapping involved. And then we can change these colors a little bit to be within values of each other. So a grayscale color that looks something like, oh, it's very angry, that's grayscale, of course. Can go between, let's do hue saturation value. Value of not black, but that dark value. Can do slightly brighter value, no saturation. Nice, and then finally a yeah, no saturation. Cool. And we got this like tile pattern. Roughness should be higher, right? Because this is like concrete on the ground. So let's add a node. Uniform color. Oh my god, right? Not Unreal Engine. Uniform color. Make this grayish roughness. Cool. Let's make it more rough. Nice. No longer quite reflective as concrete should be. And is it metallic? No, concrete's not quite metallic. I can look this up. Concrete PBR metallic value. And polycount says concrete slab I'm texturing. Plastics concrete for whatever. There's no such thing as a universal roughness value. No, there isn't. This page gives some general guidelines. Let's go. Ah, yes, Unreal Engine, amazing. But not great. Useful reference chart. Don't nod. Here we go. Gray plaster, medium luminosity, old concrete, base color 135. That's fine. Roughness. Like 0.7 to 0.8. Cool. Okay. I like it. 0.7 to 0.8 it is. So we'll do roughness 0.75. And for metallic, we will do, oh, let's see. Porosity, right. That's right. I'm sure they take in slightly different values. Ranges 0 to 1, yellow sphere below, blah, blah, blah. Reference. Okay, that's great. Let's look at this one. Maybe. Concrete. Dielectric materials are the most common. Optical colors barely vary much. Okay. Okay, concrete. Physical albedo value. Okay, alright. Any dielectric material should be in the range of 0.02 to 0.05. For specular, that's fine. That's fine. What is this? We provided a reference specular chart to the artists. Cool, cool, cool. Normal and gloss. It's just good to know. But yeah, these guys are using different rendering models. Like they're talking about glossy and specular, which Unreal Engine does use specular, but it does not use glossiness. It just uses roughness. That's fine though. No big deal. That's the color map. The original height map should be back here. There we go. And let's play with the levels of this a little bit so that it is a bit more legitimate. Let's go. So levels, crunch them down a bit, bring the height down to just above and below 0.5. Nice. So there we go. That's slightly elevated above the surface. Not really though. Elevate it a little bit more. The point is, this is good, right? So let's just export this to Unreal Engine and see what it looks like. It does look like we have this nasty cut in there. That's probably a setting in here. I can play around with edge width, and edge roundness, which helps eliminate some of those cracks. There we go. But we got some really big cracks in there now. Big gaps. That's nice. That's nice. Can definitely perform a tiny bit of blurring on this. So if I did blur high quality grayscale and with a really low intensity, what that's doing is it's rounding the edges. Just a little bit. Unfortunately, it's getting in the way of edge detection, but edge detection works against us because, you know, when we increase the edge width and edge detection, but then we can increase the blur, and it becomes a more gradual effect. And importantly, very importantly, is the actual cracks themselves are not black. So let's also separate that out real quick. And the way we're going to do that is by saying, hey, blend in the color where there's tiles and blend in a different color where there's cracks. So I'm going to do another blend, and we're going to blend cracks or tile color on top of a crack color. Gonna add a new node uniform color based on where there's cracks or not, which should be back here, right? Okay. And then what's the tile color gonna be? Let's see, green. Okay, cool. So there it is. We can make it it's black-ish. It's white in the image, which actually looks pretty nice, honestly. So yeah, we could just do white, and ambient occlusion will work with us there. So there it is. That's with white. Now ambient occlusion seems to be a little bit strong. So what I can do is I can turn the height depth way down. And I think this blurring is a little bit too strong as well. Like, that should be a little bit sharper, in my opinion. So we're just gonna turn down the blur intensity a little bit. And sure, turn up the quality all the way, why not? And there we go. That's a bit sharper on the edge. I like that. We can move around the light by pressing and holding L in here, I think, or did I just crash the engine? No? No? Okay. I have control of the camera. Control of the... Okay, it's not really letting me move the light around. You would think it would. I know that I can move around the environment, and you can rotate it around and see how light influences our cube here. The normal mapping is having an effect, but it's weak. That's fine. This is like cartoony, right? Because we don't want like crazy grain where there shouldn't be any. Let's maybe expose a parameter or two. So we can for example go to output color and yeah, grayscale, sure. 3D uniform color specific parameters. How do we expose parameters again? I don't quite remember. Let me save this. That would be a good step. In fact, I'm going to save it in our shared drives, Florida Man, new folder, substances, and I'll go into here and I'll do concrete tile paths. Sure. Okay. Concrete.sbs. Concrete path tiles. Concrete tile paths.sbs. Save. And there's a way to expose parameters. I don't quite remember what exposing parameters is quite like. I think it's here it is. Exposes a new graph input. Yes, please. We'll call this concrete color 1. And it will be grouped under color. And the label is, sure, output color, I guess. Oh, okay, different. Concrete color 1. Okay. Description. This is one of the 3 concrete colors that defines the tile color. Gonna select that all for copy pasting. Gonna repeat over here, so we can say expose as a new graph input. Bam. Concrete color 2. Concrete color and group color. So it's going to be under a little color group in Unreal Engine. Just makes it easier to work with inside of Unreal. And then finally, we can also export this uniform color as a parameter. Expose, excuse me. Concrete color 3. Concrete color 3. Group color. Bam. Bam. Okay. And then this is crack color. And we can also expose other things, like over, for example, GPU optimization should of course be true. Yeah. So this is attempting to do ambient occlusion on the cracks. It's honestly got the height way wrong. That's much more realistic. And what we can say is we can be like, yeah, height depth, ambient occlusion depth, and roughness and stuff. We can expose these. The thing is, we don't actually care that much about outputting roughness and metallic that much. But because our I guess our global material instance in Unreal Engine, the master material, does require those textures to help define things, then that's kind of nice. So yeah, we'll keep that there. Okay, let's save this. Yeah, sure. File, concrete tile path. I right click on this guy. I go publish, I believe, and concrete materials. Sure. Where are we gonna export it to? We're gonna export it to, yeah, here, concrete tile path.sbsar, publish. And then finally, after all of that really nasty work of fooling around because I didn't remember what I was doing, I can crack open Unreal Engine. And how are you guys doing? Muted mics, let's see. Whack. Wow, that's cool. Blender has this, but better. Julian's wrong about that. Blender is nowhere near as capable as Substance Designer is, and that's objective. But he's saying that because it's funny, and it is. And he's not wrong that Blender is really powerful, and it can do a lot of that, but it takes way longer to do it in Blender. And frankly, I dilly-dallied there a lot because this is my first time using Substance in about 2 years and I didn't prepare much. I'm so sorry, you guys. I do owe it to you to be ready for these presentations. But you got a bit of the troubleshooting experience there and hopefully saw a little bit about what it takes. So let's say we want to apply this concrete to the terrain here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up my Explorer. Go over here to shared drives, floor demands, substances. Okay, crash then. What was that? What just closed? Is it Unreal? Jeez. All right. Cool. Great. Sure. This is right. Substance Designer files. Yeah. We'll just close that. Package not saved. Do you want to save changes to package unsaved? Yes. No, I don't. Cause okay, so close. No. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Sorry. Don't worry about packages. We're just working on one substance at a time. So yep, there we go. Close that. I had another. I'd opened another thing earlier. That's all that was. I'd opened another thing earlier. It was like it's almost like a separate tab in Unreal Engine. So okay, concrete tile path. And I should just be able to drag in .sbsar in here. And it should work. Let me do a different folder in here. Let me do level 0, terrain stuff, materials, and let me just do concrete path. Sure. And we'll make a new material in here. It's going to be a material function. And gonna call it concrete path layer so that we can paint it directly onto the terrain. And save that. And go over here and drag in the SBSAR. Fails to import, right? Was it the .sbs that we drag in? Doesn't like that either. Cool. So it's possible that we need the Substance Painter plugin or the Substance Designer plugin. It's a really lightweight plugin, and it's possible that we need it. Substance. Yup, there it is. Let's enable that. Let's restart the engine. Maybe it'll recompile a trillion shaders, but it shouldn't. It didn't. It's almost done. Great. Yup, there it goes. Okay, enabled that plugin. Now it should let us import the SBSAR. There it goes. Amazing. And yeah, create material. Sure. Don't create the material. No. Create default instance. Yes. Okay, import. And there she goes. Here it goes. There we go. So what it just did is it generated the 5 textures that we were outputting, the 6 textures. We had roughness, normal, metallic, height, base color, ambient occlusion. There's an issue here that roughness, metallic, and occlusion could be one texture. They don't have to be separated like this. And we can do that, I think, in Substance Designer. But I'm not going to bother with that immediately. What I'm going to do is I'm going to manipulate this instance here. And here's the parameters that we exposed. Here's concrete color 1, RGBA, concrete color 2, RGBA, concrete color 3. And you can even change the resolution, and it'll just regenerate different things at different resolutions. So I can hit save, and it'll actually just regenerate these textures pretty much instantly. Gives it, it takes it a second. Unreal Engine hangs for a second. But the point is you can create more instances of this and create a bunch of texture sets, and it'll all be seamless and ready to go, and you can create like duplicates of them, and you can reference them in materials and generate different varieties of them, and they just work. It just works. It's really nice how it just works. Except when I guess Unreal Engine hangs. That's really annoying. That part is not supposed to happen. Come on. Come on. Please. Oh my god. Are you serious? I guess because I set it to 4096 by 4096, my graphics card is like munching right now. So it's generating like a like an 8K texture. Oh no. Oh no. I'm sure it'll finish up soon enough. Surely. Surely. Any hour now. Yeah, 4K by 4K is not the move. I'm a bit of a clown. Might have to restart Unreal. Might just do that. Uh-huh. Yeah. Definitely gonna just restart Unreal. Bit of task manager, bit of end task. Yeah, 40% CPU. Yeah, that's all right. I'm sure it'll be ready to go the second that I launch it. Here it goes, 75%, and Unreal Engine's open. There it goes. All right. Point is, I can reference these in here, so I can be like, make material attributes. Right there. Base color. I can say texture sample, and the texture sample can be concrete. Concrete base color, and I can make another one, and this can be concrete metallic, and I can make another one, and this can be concrete height. And now you're probably thinking, okay, what do I do with a height map in Unreal Engine? Well, you have some options. You can do parallax occlusion mapping. Parallax occlusion mapping, which is what we were talking about earlier, looks like this. It's this fat node, and inside of it, it has a lot of really cool stuff. Like, really cool stuff. That's parallax occlusion mapping, and specifically this node is a custom HLSL node. You can just type in HLSL and declare your own nodes in Unreal Engine. So this is that. It's a little bit of code. So parallax mapping, you can do that, but it's not the best option because it's only useful if you have like really pop out rocks and things like that really need to pop out. This doesn't need to pop out. It barely needs to pop out. Additionally, we can do another texture for ambient occlusion. Just gonna fill in the rest of the textures before I explain what we can do. So where's ambient occlusion? Where is ambient occlusion? There it is. And this guy is what again? Height map. So this is cool. We can do a bump offset, and bump offset is like parallax mapping without the occlusion. Bump offset is what is commonly known as parallax mapping. The bump offset expression allows a material to give the illusion of depth without the need for additional geometry. They use a grayscale height map to give depth information. The brighter the value in the height map, the more popped out the material will be. These areas will shift as a camera moves across the surface. Darker areas will shift the least. So yeah, we can input this as height, and height ratio is going to be a number, a really small number, and coordinate is just texture coordinates. Yeah. So the way that we make this work is I think we plug this into base color, I think. No. Arithmetic types between float 2 and float are undefined. Error on property base color. So this, I guess, just outputs height. Might it be world position offset? No, it's pixel depth offset. Right, it's totally pixel depth offset. It's not pixel depth offset. Let me just remember how we do bump mapping. Bump offset UE4. Using bump offset. Yup, you do it. And then it becomes the texture coordinates for everything. Right. And it creates that effect. Cool, let's do that. U will become the texture coordinate for this guy, and this guy, and this guy. And it doesn't like that. It doesn't like that one bit. It's very confused. Right. Let's make U 0.1. And let me make, let's do texture coordinates, coordinate, texture coordinate. Plug that in there. So it doesn't like that, not much. U should be your grayscale. So it does recognize that this is a grayscale sample. We can actually just do a luminosity, I think. Or rather, no, we should just be able to do a grayscale, gray, value. Can you just, can you do, HSV, RGB to hue saturation value, and break out float 3 components, hue saturation value. Right. That should work. Cool. This should have converted us to... That's okay. This, I'm not entirely sure what Unreal Engine is seeing here. Let me just preview it real quick. No, it's definitely obtaining the value. So that's good. And then height, ratio input, 0.05. Okay, cool. Color's not plugged in. That's why it's angry. Excuse me. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so there it is. And the 3D effect is not at all obvious, but the more I play with this, the more obvious it becomes. There it is, trying to be 3D, and it's not doing a great job. If I set this to like 0.2, that's a little bit of the effect. You know, it's kind of trying to do it there, but way too intense. We want a really subtle effect. 0.05 does it just a little bit. It creates just a little bit of 3D. And that really is just all you kind of need. So we got ambient occlusion, we got metallic, we can plug in the roughness texture as well. Roughness, concrete, roughness, right? And a big one that we're missing is also the normal map. Texture coordinate, T, UVs, and then plug in the normal map. Excuse me, concrete. Concrete. There it is. Normal. Normal. There we go. And now we've got this. We got this kind of concrete floor pattern. How are we going to integrate it into the landscape material? You go over here. We have to add in another layer. So I'm going to just add in one more layer called by default it has no name. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it concrete tiles. And I'm additionally going to connect a material function call. And the function call is going to be concrete. And just like that, save and apply. And what we should be able to do now, delete that. I should be able to just paint this onto the surface at this point. Now, unfortunately, yeah, it always paints stone on the slopes. That's right. I should just be able to close this. Yes, save and apply. Sure. And now, when I go into landscape mode, I should, when I go into paint mode, see. I don't see another layer. That's fine. It might give me another one. It might not. It's not. That's okay. I think the reason that it's doing that has something to do with let's see. Number 4, we'll call this concrete tiles. Save and apply. And concrete tiles will not have any grass. Let's see. Sample landscape layer sample and concrete tiles. Concrete tiles. It might be a limitation of how many landscape materials can be blended in a weight blend. No, there it is, concrete tiles. Let's add a weight blended layer, terrain stuff, materials, actually shared assets, right? Shared assets, concrete layer info. Cool. And now I should just be able to paint this onto our surface. It's gonna take it a second to just get angry at me. Yep. Here it goes. There it is. The scale is a little bit off, but it's there. The scale is very much off, right? So let's fix that. And go to concrete path, do this, and texture coordinate should probably just be landscape layer coordinates divided by, and we should just be able to divide this by a value that's going to really just be our scale value, and we can scale this up like 10 times bigger, might be about right. Plug that in there, save and apply. There it goes. Bit better, bit better. It looks really nice, honestly. Something's off. Something isn't connected to that, right? Because you see that, obviously something's a little bit off. One of these wasn't plugged in. Which one's not? They're all plugged in. Every single one of them is literally plugged in. That's great. That's great. Why is it doing that? That's really strange. The bump offset effect is there. It's really subtle, but it's there. So yeah, we can kind of just paint some paths now. And the reason the grass is fading in is because I'm not painting it very rigidly. There's something else that I can do is height blending, where as it transitions to grass, the cracks will fill in before the tiles fill in. So the grass will fill in the cracks between these first. It's not great right now. It's not up to par at all. But there we go. There it is with just, yeah, the grass immediately filling in. Still a little bit too big and still behaving very weirdly with these little cracks that seem independent of parallax mapping. You can really see the parallax mapping when I move super slowly. You see that? You see how it's like hovering above those cracks? Very, very nice. That's how it's supposed to be behaving. But something's amiss here. And it's no, that's how the texture is. That's literally how the texture is. Okay, something's off in our texture. It's not even my fault. Well, it is, but like for a different reason than we anticipated. Let me divide this by 3 again, so that it's 3 times bigger than it currently is. How's that look? Okay. Better. Yeah, that feels a little bit better. Everything's lagging a bit because shaders are compiling. There it goes. Grass is in. Nice. That is substantially better. Those cracks on the edges are those are part of the texture, I guess? No, they're not. So that's definitely bump offset messing around. We can really just turn off bump offset. Like, it doesn't matter that much. The normal map is enough to cover for us. Oh, this guy needs the same coordinates. Bam. Fixed it. We're set. Yep. We're set. There we go. Cool. Great. Yep. There it is. Now these guys are experiencing the bump offset effect. It is a little bit too much right now, though, because you can see that little bit of white artifacting on the edges is just not look right. We can fix that, however, by just turning down this ratio even more, and probably setting this to 20, 2/3 of what it currently is. And there we go. Yeah, that's a nice look. So that fade in right there, how it just fades in on top of the tiles, we can make it fade into the cracks first, so that the cracks disappear, but the tiles like still obviously there. But yeah, we now have a path that we can like very easily draw throughout our level, add some like fences lining it, etc., etc. Very nice little little substance ground texture. This is not up to standards, but it's a nice first example. I would have improved that a bit. I hope you guys enjoyed. See you, Thad. No, Thad's gone. Thad's been gone since literally seconds ago. Cool. Just as I check muted mics. I'm done, you guys. That's everything. I hope that was somewhat insightful. God, I fumbled around in Substance quite a bit, but I didn't really take much time to explain. Like, I was explaining what I was doing as I was doing it, but not really the overall methods, I suppose. Like the overarching thought process. There's just a couple nodes that you become familiar with, like histogram scan lets you isolate a range of blacks and whites and make them like whatever you want. Just isolate them. Like there's stuff like that just makes sense. And you start getting a feel for it. But yeah, we got this like material now, and we can kind of just put it all over the place and make paths out of it and all that. So, yay! That's it. That's it, guys. Yeah. I'm going to head. I'm not gonna head out yet. I'm just gonna stop the recording though. I hope that was fun. Yeah, little path. We can just draw now. You can even like just elevate it a little bit. And it's nice because stone automatically fills in the in-betweens. And just do a ramp from here to here. Add ramp. And from here to here. And then paint in concrete on the surface of the ramp. Yeah. Yeah. Not bad. Paint in some stone over here. Remove the grass. Some more concrete there. Ooh. And there we go. A nice little subtle effect for our player to explore. You guys there? Is anyone hanging around?
Oh, I'm watching.
Oh, cool.
Ooh, the water conforms around the.
He's got edge foam. Yeah, it's not great, but it'll get better. I did make a water shader. It's just not. It's this thing, and it's not great. There we go. Where is it? Here's a concrete path. It's nice. I wouldn't pay much attention to it while I was walking around. Like, this maybe actually is game ready and acceptable. What I would do is I would change the roughness a bit so that the only shiny parts are the tiles and not the cracks. But the way that I would do that is by just like.
Wait, are the tiles supposed to be shiny?
They're just a little shiny.
Are they like because I thought they were like stone, like.
They are, and they're definitely rougher in the image, but like in the game they look pretty nice being just a little bit shiny. Like, it's just that their shininess should be isolated from the shininess of the cracks between them. I think that would create a pretty convincing effect. But this is not bad, like, at all. for something that you're gonna run through, not terrible. Not terrible. Definitely could use some improvement. And it's very easy to like iterate on this. I mean, it's in the engine now. I can go back to Substance and just navigate to that file, shared drives, Florida Man, substances, and just double click it, and Substance Designer opens it. There it goes. And we could definitely improve this a little bit, so I could make some big changes to some aspects of this, like the chunk of these that are noisy. I could use this to blend between what's rough and what isn't. So like this here to this, yeah, that makes sense visually. This here, that there, and then this here, and that there, and then I can probably comment out all of this to be, you do commenting, right click, add comment. Oh, add frame. There we go, frame. Frame is blend concrete colors. And then, yeah, there's definitely more that I can do here. Definitely more to be done here. A little bit of extras here. Blend concrete colors. This is blending the crack colors in. Blend crack colors. Nice. What can we do? What can we do to make this better? Blend roughness based on the cracks, right? So this could be a blend, and roughness will take, should probably be grayscale, honestly. Uniform color, grayscale. There we go. So it'll blend between that and another color. So this is our main roughness. This is going to be crack roughness based on this mask of cracks or not cracks. This, and that. There we go. So now cracks can be extremely rough, while the surface can be a bit shiny. Nice. So I can export this again by just saving it and go to Unreal Engine, right click on this, re-import, and it should immediately, we should see roughness over here change. There it goes, updating a whole lot right now. Possibly killing the engine with it. Very possibly killing the engine with it. Engine seems to be quite dead. Okay. Okay, well, Unreal Engine really doesn't like Substance Designer right now. I wonder if it has to do with the fact that that file is on that like cloud drive. I'd hope not, but it's really not having a good time right now. Game Dev Association. Muted mic. I gotta go. Thank you, Michael. Okay, cool. See you, Catherine. Logo design sheet I made for the Gator Osu tournament. Sick. Good work, Lay. Because we're gonna end task on Unreal Engine again. I have no idea what's causing that hang. But hopefully we'll learn soon enough. Maybe I had to close it out in Substance and then Unreal. Open up the project again. Let's see. Unreal opens. It's almost done. Skip the restore. There it goes. It won't let me close that. Okay. It won't let me click on any item of the user interface. Wow, that's really crazy. Control F4 worked. Okay, it's absolutely losing its mind right now. It's actually losing its mind. Unreal Engine is... I think this is my corrupt Windows, frankly. Okay, nope, it's back. Cool. Alright, great. Roughness hasn't updated because this hasn't been re-imported. Let me just delete all of these. Actually, let me not. Let me try to re-import this. Doesn't like that. Doesn't like that at all. Okay, God. That's very exhausting. Cool. Restart Unreal Engine again. Anything that's crashing the engine is just not great. It's definitely not the Epic plugin, or the, excuse me, the Substance plugin. But, because that works. Like, it's worked in the past. It's installing it doesn't do this. Oh, let's see. X that out. Okay, now it's fine. It's accepting mouse input. I should just be able to delete these textures, and it might get very angry at the references. Actually, I can just delete this guy. Force delete. Sure. Okay. And now I might be able to just drag in the file from the network drive, shared drives, substances, concrete tool. Okay, here we go. .sbs. Aha. Create graph instance, new instance of concrete. Sure. Import. Okay. Okay. That's not correct. That's alright though. We can just delete all of these. Including this guy. And open this back up in Substance Painter. So you have to export the SBSAR. You have to click that little button that says publish to SBSAR. And that's a Substance archive. So I guess that's just the file type that stores the like compiled graph. Just do file. Right click on this guy here. And just do publish. Publish. Yes, replace it. Same directory. Done. Awesome. Drag it in. Don't create a material. Import it. It doesn't hang this time. Great. So that might be something to do with it. There's roughness. So we're probably going to have to drag these in again. That's fine. I can just go on my other monitor and start dragging stuff in. Like base color. And metallic. And normals. And ambient occlusion. And finally, nope, that was ambient occlusion. Whoops. What is this? Roughness. Roughness, let's go save and apply. And our terrain should update accordingly. Or no, maybe not. Does this, was this, did Unreal Engine crash before I ever saved the terrain? Possibly. Possibly. Would be a little annoying. Where did I just import all of that stuff? I definitely just did it in here, so... Terrain. Paint. concrete tiles. It doesn't have a layer yet. That's fine. There we go. Okay. I can just paint some concrete tiles. There we go. It'll compile shaders. Or maybe it won't. Landscape material. Yup, it's definitely using the right material function call. Grass map needs to be rebuilt. Yeah, no, go figure. Maybe we delete this. And maybe we generate a new weight blended layer. And there's no layer info has been assigned yet. Okay. Be like grass. Man, Unreal Engine's just not having a good time right now. Oof, it's just not having a great time at all. No grass. Does not handle. It's not handling anything right now. Oh my god. Very annoying. Some troubleshooting. No idea what's going on. Let's just hit build and see if that fixes anything. Okay. So it's building lighting right now. I have a feeling we're going to be here for a while because the grass still has light maps. Let's just cancel that. That's great. Nothing's working. That's fantastic. Well, we'll get back to this some other time. I mean, I feel like I've been rambling on for a while, and it's not getting us anywhere. This is so weird right now. This is so incredibly weird. Grass, fill layer. Yep, everything gets to be grass. Cool. Grass is rendering just fine. It should be. Like, what? Height blend. Sure. Height concrete tiles. Okay, it's recompiling shaders. That's kind of what we needed. There we go. Okay, just forcing a change in the landscape material seems to have fixed whatever it, like, absolutely broke. Because something broke. Something broke real hard a second ago. It's not clear what, but it looks like it's good now. So that's cool. And when I save and apply, it, does not like my concrete path material. There's a concrete mat. We don't care. And it thinks it's still missing textures when it's definitely not. It's got textures right here. Concrete instance metallic. Save and apply. Missing input texture. It's so angry right now. It thinks it doesn't have any textures. Roughness and ambient occlusion. It literally thinks it has no textures. Texture sample, missing input texture. That's so weird. Alright, well, I guess we have to delete the nodes and put them back. Unreal Engine's bugging out. Very annoying. I'm on my other monitor right now, just re-adding nodes where necessary. It's like really not happy with any of these. Doesn't seem to even recognize that they exist. Let's just, you know, make this 2048 by 2048 texture and hit save. And it's gonna, is Substance Designer gonna hang? Maybe. Generating substance U texture 2D data. Nope, it worked. Cool. We have fresh textures, and I should just be able to drag them in. Base color, RGB, base color, UVs, bump offset. It's very angry at bump offset. Oh, because the one texture that I forgot was the height texture. That's great. Unreal Engine's not bugging out. Unreal Engine is an incredibly well-designed engine. I forgot to replace this texture sample over here, and everything else was getting angry by extension because they were all referencing it for their UVs. That's great. That's just, I'm a genius. I'm, wow. UVs, RGB, metallic. One stupid mistake was costing us a whole lot of headache there. Just plug in roughness, UVs, RGB, roughness, there we go. And then normal map, there's our normal map, brilliant. Plug it in, UVs, RGB to normal. And finally, ambient occlusion. In a perfect world, we would pack those textures. I can look up how to do that. Don't remember how to, but we'll figure that out. Ambient occlusion, save and apply. And now we should also have height blending. Cool. All right. Yeah. It's doing the thing again, where the scale is off. Even though I plugged in the scale right for everything, so hopefully that fixes itself in a second. There it goes, concrete. Okay, yep. Ah, right, I know why. So we have to go back to materials, landscape material. This guy right here needs to be landscape coordinates divided by divided by 30. Divide by 30, because that's the scale that we're doing it on the other thing. 30 UVs. There we go. Save, apply. Oh my god, finally. There we kind of go. That's not lined up at all. That's fine. We'll figure that one out. It's 20. It's totally 20 and not 30. There's a better way to do this with outputs on material function calls. Muted mic. Somebody else totally left. Gonna head out now. See you, Michael. See you, Julian. I hope it was interesting. It's been a bit disorganized, but we're doing all sorts of stuff. Shaders and textures. So there we go. There we go. So grass fills in the cracks first. Just like that. Very smooth transition. Very nice. Grass will fill in the cracks first as we paint this. That looks a lot better when you have like crazy height variation. You know, you got like rocks popping out of the ground and the dirt around them fills in first with whatever layer they're transitioning onto. Looks really great. So there we are. How did I do that? I went over here to the landscape material, and this is a layer blend, which is a single node that is deciding between, based on our layer data here, decides based on that layer data what material function call to paint. And these are the different materials. So like that's the grass, that's sand, just color. And so it fills in spots of the landscape with these based on whatever layer data is applied. And you can in it, you can go down to settings, and for a given layer, you can make it a weight blend or a height blend. And if you make it a height blend, it blends itself based on a height map. And if there's multiple layers that have like different height maps, they'll kind of blend into each other nicely, where the cracks fill in first, like the lower values fill in with each other first. So it makes transitions look way, 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 way better, which is great. So that's what I just did, except we had to set it to the same scale as the cracks, because our cracks, our whole ass texture was scaled hugely to make it look right, because it was way too small. So the way that we do this better is, instead of having all this stuff just sitting here, which doesn't make sense, it should be part of the concrete, we're going to export this separately from the material function call. So let's go back to concrete path layer. Gonna grab this stuff, control exit from here, and in here we should be able to define a different output, function output, and I will name this height, yeah, height map, height, sure. And all this is going to do is it's going to output this height map. Amazing. And I save and apply, and back here I can just plug in the height, just like that, and it should be good to go. Not a single thing should have changed. And there it is, it's filling in the cracks first. Amazing. Amazing. Great. There we go. So now we can paint this onto our landscape, and it looks pretty half decent. We can improve it even more. We can make it tile-less. There's parameters that are exposed in here for us to play with, like the different color values. So, you know, we want mosaic terrain. We can do mosaic terrain. All I have to do is just, I can paint some down. I can go in here and I can be like, oh, concrete 1 color should be red. I hit save and close it, and it re-renders all of the textures. And just a few seconds later, there it goes. Bam. New texture set for us to work with. And we can make multiple instances. I can make a copy of this and generate further variations of this texture with different noise patterns, and blend them together and do all sorts of cool things. The reflectivity is no longer applied to cracks, so you can see how the reds get way shinier there than anything else, and especially not the cracks. So yeah, we now have like this cool kind of concrete path looking texture that is pretty chaotic, and yeah. Substance Designer, very unimpressive texture, but that's, you know, that's getting started. I'm really done now. I'm definitely really done now. Gonna just not save much. I'll save it. I'll save it and maybe request a merge. All right. It's been a pleasure, guys. I'm not sure if you've just AFK'd or not, but I'm gonna end the recording.